What's going on, Leaguers? Welcome to the Spectacular Spoiler League. I'm the Pandan Superman, the mayor of Hype City HazyRome, and as always, I'm joined by the Gotham Knight, the Prime Minister of Post-Production, DeepBoyce. And Leaguers, we are here in the Hall of Spoilers today to rank every single Star Wars movie until we come out with our #1 spectacular Star Wars movie of all time.
Yes.
DeepBoyce, man.
And
take us to it.
And a quick disclaimer. This video is purely our opinion, and you're free to disagree below in the comments. And before you do, make sure you hit that thumbs up.
DeepBoyce feeling salty about your comments, y'all. I'm just saying. I'm going to put it out there.
So, let's start with the list. A very honorable mention at number 9. Star Wars The Clone Wars, which is the Star Wars CGI animated film that led up into the cartoon series.
The cartoon series was baller, DeepBoyce, but that movie was anything but.
Yeah, not the best intro into that movie, but it did make quite a bit of money, and people did go see it in the movie theaters.
Yeah, but it just seemed a little bit out of place. I mean, tonally. I mean, for starters, I mean the design when you compare live action and the design of some of the characters in it, it just people didn't take to it very well. And also there was some weird, odd musical choices in there too, where they kind of had some type of during some battle scenes, they kind of had some I don't know what to call it, like some techno type. I don't know. It just sounded really bad, and it was really a pale. It was really not really. It paled in comparison to some of the live action Star Wars takes. It was just very odd, Very odd. But the show was baller.
The show was baller, and one of the major characters, Ahsoka, wasn't the best or most interesting character to start off with. But
no, she was annoying. Let's put it out there.
Yeah.
She was annoying in that movie.
Yeah.
She was a pain in the ass.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, Ahsoka. Still love you, girl.
So it's at the
especially if you played by Rosario Dawson.
Oh yes.
Please, let's have it.
Someone listen. Disney, Marvel, do it.
Do it.
So that's at the very bottom at number 9. Number 8.
All right, man. Number 8. All right, now we get into the live action joints. Now we get into the nitty gritty of Star Wars movies.
Everyone's favorite. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, starring your favorite Gungan, Jar Jar Binks.
Oh my gosh. I mean, all right, as kids when we watched, and our next pick is another one where when we were kids watching these movies, we thought it was fun. We hear as kids, all you need to do is give us lightsabers and do and we're satisfied.
Yes.
That's it. But the more you watch The Phantom Menace, the more you realize it's a menace to your fun. And it's a menace to you trying to stay awake because it's going to put you right to sleep.
Plot holes galore, dealing with Trade Federation and all this civics and political mumbo jumbo. Some very bad elements they put in there, such as Jar Jar Binks, midi-chlorians. It just didn't quite work out, and it doesn't hold up very well over time. And let's just be clear.
Let's not forget happy-go-lucky Anakin Skywalker. Good Lord.
The pod race was kind of cool, though.
Pod racing was cool.
Pod race was kind of cool. I liked Obi-Wan. I even liked Qui-Gon. And, of course, Darth Maul. It's pretty dope.
The best thing to come out of that movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's, we're not haters of the prequels. We're realists. Let's put it that way. Prequel realists. We're not the worst thing ever, but we got to call it how it is. So, Phantom Menace,
indeed,
right at number 8.
Yeah, and I see what George Lucas was trying to do. He was trying to tell a more political story because, he was trying to set up the political atmosphere of the Galactic Empire. The only problem is nobody gives, 2 shites about that. Nobody cares.
This is true. And borderline...
The Galactic Republic, I should say.
Borderline racist, shall I say, with the Gungans there?
Yeah. As a Jamaican, Misa was a little offended, Sa. You know what I'm saying? I didn't appreciate some of that. I felt like they were trying to. I don't know, man. It was a little much, but I'm not gonna get into that, man. I'm gonna hit him up. I'm gonna hit us up with number 7, Star Wars Episode 2, Episode Dos, Attack of the Clones at number 7.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones, only Star Wars movie I didn't go to the theaters to watch. It wasn't terrible. I think it was just boring at parts. But I don't know. It has the most forgettable plot out of all of them, I think. But it definitely has some dope fight scenes in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where you can unequivocally say the prequels in general excel is the fight scenes. The fight scenes, the battle scenes where, the the Jedi, where the Clone Wars, kicks off with the Battle of Geonosis. I mean, that was like a visual spectacle, and I respect that about it.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't want to ever hear anyone talk about how they hate sand ever again. Ever.
Yeah,
it was bad.
The Anakin / Padme love story was probably the worst part of the movie.
Sure, sure.
But luckily we got maybe the most Jedi fighting in one fight scene ever.
Yes.
That was cool. And Yoda versus Count Dooku.
There you go. Yoda finally, showing up and putting in that work, man.
Yeah.
That was respectable, man. But no more sand. Don't talk about that anymore. Stop it. Next up, man, number 6, man. DeepBoyce, hit us with number 6.
At number 6, episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. The best of the prequel movies.
The best of, unequivocally, you cannot argue that there's a I will not accept any arguments that there's a better prequel movie than Revenge of the Sith, man.
Agreed. I agree with that. Solid film. Solid plot. Great way to end it. Great way to kind of tie into the original movies. Obviously.
And let's be honest, the best one-on-one Jedi duel ever. Freaking Obi-Wan versus Anakin Skywalker, man.
This is true.
I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
This is true on Mustafar.
Right. It was crazy. It was sick, man.
This is true.
I mean, there's some things I could have done without. Some of the whininess of Anakin Skywalker. I mean, and I also could have done without some of the meanness of the Jedi, man. Like, Anakin just needed a hug, y'all. Y'all couldn't even give the boy a hug. Mace Windu was just straight up mean to the boy, man.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not nice.
There were some inconsistencies there, especially with the Anakin character, where, like you said, sometimes he was whiny, but sometimes it did show the very ruthless side of him.
Sure, I mean,
leading up to Darth Vader.
You don't get more Darth Vader-y than walking into a Jedi temple and just killing the younglings.
Yep.
I mean, that was pretty dark. Absolutely. And I think that's the darkest Star Wars has ever gotten. That being said, when you have the birth of Darth Vader at the end of that movie, him getting off of, him basically being a modern Star Wars version of Frankenstein, getting off of, the treatment table and, breaking his restraints off and going, no, after finding out Padme died. George Lucas, get out.
Yeah, that movie still had some of the corny, cringeworthy, dramatic parts that the prequels are kind of known for. Another one that stands out to me is when the Senate votes, like, I guess, power to Palpatine, like supreme power.
Yes.
And Padme is like, oh, so this is how democracy falls, with applause.
I mean, listen, man, George Lucas has never claimed to be a good writer, and it definitely showed from time to time. But that being said, as we wrap up our ranking of the prequels per se, we just got to shout out Obi-Wan Kenobi, man. I mean, Ewan McGregor, the best thing about the prequels, and probably the best thing about Revenge of the Sith, I would say.
Indeed.
He killed it. He killed it, man.
Indeed.
Let's move on, man. Number 5. This is where our list is gonna start irking people. This is where people gonna start screaming at the screen. This is where DeepBoyce's disclaimer comes into play, man. Hit us with number 5, DeepBoyce.
Number 5 is Rogue One, a Star Wars story. A movie that has divided many, but in our opinion, it was a solid film. And it was exciting. One of the more exciting Star Wars films out there, and still keeps Star Wars in good form coming after Force Awakens.
Sure, and I think it's the first Star Wars movie to tell a war story.
Yeah,
I don't think there's been any Star Wars movie that's actually told a straight up bona fide war story. Yep. And there were real casualties. People were dying left and right.
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean? With the prequels, we didn't really get to see the Clone Wars play out. We literally saw the beginning of the Clone Wars in episode 2 and the end of the Clone Wars in episode 3. But, you see the rebels pretty much embroiled in the struggle with the Empire in Rogue One. And it was done well. And just the way it tied into New Hope, man. I mean, A New Hope, it was almost seamless. And let's not forget, man, the best Darth Vader scene of all time.
It was pretty dope. It was pretty dope indeed.
He was owning those rebels up, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful. I marked out in the theater. I ain't gonna.
Made him look like a horror movie villain.
Yeah. It really did, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like why it ranks at 5 as opposed to higher, because a lot of people were saying when it came out it was better than Empire Strikes Back. It was the best. I should say it was the best movie since Empire Strikes Back. I didn't hear anyone saying it was better, but I feel that the lasting impact of some of the other movies that are above it, I feel like, you know, they set a standard that I'm not willing to let Rogue One get a pass on, because it was, you know, as good a movie as it was, and because we didn't expect it to be as good as it was.
Yeah, I mean, Rogue One again is a solid film in and of itself, but when we were discussing this, I felt that the other movies above this are timeless in their own way.
Sure.
While this is a great movie to kind of watch and enjoy, it doesn't pull your heartstrings in the same way that the other movies do. And you know, the plot, they did well with what they had. They were kind of squeezed in a really tight spot to kind of get this movie right. But it's
definitely
some of the other Star Wars movies, the ones that ranked above this, I think had better plots, and I think the characters are far more likable than in Rogue One.
Definitely, man. But that being said, let's move on to number 4. We've got Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Okay, now some people are going to argue that Return of the Jedi is not a better movie than Rogue One. But to that I say, Luke Skywalker, baby. Luke Skywalker, baby. Doing it up, man. There's some things about Return of the Jedi that we all cut on. Ewoks, we all cut on that. The early death of Boba Fett.
Doing my man dirty.
But they did my man dirty. But when you think about the badassery of Luke Skywalker in all black doing his thing with the green lightsaber, I'm sorry. There's no way I was going to rank. I wasn't going to let DeepBoyce, even if he wanted to fight me on this, there's no way he's going to fight me on Return of the Jedi being up here.
Yeah, it's just that this film almost seems like 2 films in one, in a sense. It's very different in tone depending on what's going on in the movie.
Sure.
Especially the end, where it's exciting on one end, Luke finally, you know, finalizing his fight against the dark side, against Vader, against Palpatine, and all of a sudden you go back to the Ewoks and they're over here throwing rocks and then, you know, cutting down trees on top of stormtroopers and silly stuff, and then they have a little festival, and then, you know, you see Hayden Christensen in the hologram, and you're like, what the heck is going on?
That to in defense of the original release, that wasn't an original release. That was, you know, George Lucas on cocaine. You know, cocaine's a hell of a drug, in the words of Rick James. But I mean, for us, you know, for me, I think the impact that movie's had on me is that it saw the realization of Luke Skywalker as a cinematic hero.
Yeah.
And that makes that movie timeless.
Yeah. So
it doesn't matter what anyone says.
Yeah, I totally agree. The Jedi aspects, loved it. The way the rebellion sort of concluded in that one could have been better. Could have been better.
Could have been better. Yeah. Agreed. That being said, man, speaking of could have been better, because some people had some post-release hate on this movie, but at the time of its release, people love this movie. Here's your number 3, man.
Number 3 is Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Look, I don't care what people say out there. I'm putting my foot down. I really liked this movie. This is a great Star Wars film, and it deserves to be within the same realm of the original trilogy. It deserves to be kind of put up there. It was a great movie. They took Star Wars. In my opinion, they did almost the impossible.
Yeah.
They took Star Wars back from such a long hiatus, and they made it. Not only did they undo sort of what the prequels did, I guess, you know, the bad taste that left in people's mouths.
Yeah.
But they kind of brought back what made the original movies magical and fun to watch.
And charming.
And then they laid the groundwork for the next movies, such as The Last Jedi, which we're going to see later this year.
God, I wish it was later today, bro. I almost passed out when you said that. Oh, Lord.
Later this year in November, December.
Yeah, I mean, The Force Awakens, you know, I feel like, you know, people want to retroactively say, oh, it was too much like A New Hope. Nobody was sitting in that movie talking about, oh, man, this is a lot like A New Hope. I don't want to watch this movie. Nobody was sitting there like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. This movie's just like A New Hope. The whole point is that they were intentionally drawing parallels with A New Hope. That was the point.
Yeah.
And I think the point was to harken back to that nostalgia that we all felt.
Yeah.
When we watch A New Hope every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think The Force Awakens did that really, really well. It revitalized the franchise.
Yeah.
The franchise would not be as hyped as it is right now without The Force Awakens. It has a timeless and super crucial role in the revitalization of the Star Wars franchise, hands down.
And to people saying that is too similar to A New Hope, there are similarities there. But I remember when we went to see it, I was kind of thinking to myself that this movie will be seen different once we get the next couple Star Wars movies. Because maybe on the onset it does seem similar, but I do think there are some differences there, and they'll be expanded upon in the subsequent movies that are coming afterwards. And I think this movie will be looked upon more favorably as after we conclude this trilogy that we're in right now.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
With that being said, man, we talked about A New Hope. Number 2, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
I mean,
it's
the
one. I don't know what's coming for number 1, but let's talk about A New Hope, man.
It started it all. It started it all. I mean, everything positive you can say about Star Wars is because of this movie. Yeah. This movie was a bit of a miracle to kind of get done. People thought it was going to flop. They were running out of money. It was against all odds. And it turned out to be one of the most, if not the most charming Star Wars film. One of the most charming films of all time. And it exploded into an enormous money-making franchise. And it's a movie that, I mean, I know for Hazy and I, we pretty much watch it every year whenever we get the chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the villainousness and the vileness of Darth Vader and the ominousness of his character to the roguish charm of Han Solo to the everyman hero, Luke Skywalker, to the strong, woman character of Princess Leia. I mean, it had so many aspects of it that, really were unique to its time. I mean, and just the scale of it for its time too. I mean, just battling in space, the music. I mean, the soundtrack to that movie. Obi-Wan Kenobi as this sage who's had an effect on Luke Skywalker's life, and makes that sacrifice in order for them to ultimately get away. I mean, it's just.
Yeah,
it's one of the best.
And it's one of those things that as you get older, you appreciate it more because everything about this film is like a love letter. It's a remix of everything that George Lucas and Steven Spielberg and all the people that worked on the movies liked when they were growing up, such as like Flash Gordon serials, Kira Kurosawa samurai films. They make allusions to the way of the samurai Bushido. They make allegories to World War II. All this stuff that they just kind of weave together into a nice sci-fi epic is pretty dope. And I mean, Star Wars is one of the most important things in pop culture history.
Absolutely. Now, DeepBoyce, man, bring us to number 1. The only movie left.
Number 1.
Numero uno.
Best Star Wars film ever. At least until you never know. You never know what else comes out. But the number 1 Star Wars movie here at Spectacular Spoiler League is Star Wars Episode 2, The Empire Strikes Back. Now,
if my man say Star Wars Episode 2, get your bum ass out of there. Star Wars Episode 5.
Oh,
The Empire Strikes Back.
I'm sorry.
The Empire Strikes Back.
I'm sorry. Episode 5, the second of the original trilogy. Let's not get confused here. But listen, it comes with no surprise.
DeepBoyce, hold on. Before we get into that, answer the question of what about those people out there that are saying there would be no Empire Strikes Back without A New Hope? That's the thing I always hear. That's the debate that I always hear as to which one is better.
There's no arguing that, but just because it's a sequel doesn't mean that it's not better. I mean,
there you go.
It's one of many sequels that are better than the original. It's The Godfather Part 2. It's Terminator 2.
It's The Dark Knight.
It's The Dark Knight. It takes everything that A New Hope built and it just turns it to 1,000. They had the money, they had the backing, they had the hype, and they
had the best twist of all time. Nobody expected Darth Vader to be Luke's father. Even I remember watching this movie for the first time and being like, I remember being aghast. Like, what? Like, no way. Like, I was like Luke. I was saying, no. Like, I was like, nah, this can't be. It took you into, it brought you into that world. And then to see one of the most beloved characters of all time, Han Solo, man. Just like his state of limbo at the end of that movie. I mean, that was risky.
Yeah.
That was risky.
Just the idea of the bad guys winning was a bold idea back then.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why this movie is so amazing. It's not just the best Star Wars film, but in my opinion, it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, I think it's hard to argue that it doesn't deserve the #1 spot. The top spot in the spectacular spoiler league ranking of Star Wars films. Yeah. Dag, I just sounded like a 3-year-old when I said that. The spectacular ranking of Star Wars films. There we go.
Episode.
I was like, the spectacular ranking of the Star Wars films. Sorry, guys. Take two. Action.
This list talking about Star Wars took you back in time to a time where you had nothing to worry about but video games and Star Wars, a lot of dope nerd stuff. Star Wars
and my lisp apparently.
Lisp, well. Star Wars Episode 5. The Empire Strikes Back. Best Star Wars film ever.
Let us know what your top Star Wars films are. Let us know what your ranking is. We want to know what your #1 Star Wars film of all time is, and what film do you hate the most?
Yes.
I mean, I feel like not a lot of people are going to argue with the bottom of our list. But I really want to hear what you guys rank at the top. Is Rogue One better than The Force Awakens, or is The Force Awakens better than Rogue One? Does Return of the Jedi deserve to be at #4 above Rogue One?
Yes.
I know you guys have some thoughts about that, and the Spectacular Spoiler League wants to hear it.
We encourage you guys, even if you absolutely hate us after hearing this video, give us your ranking. We really want to know what your ranking is of all Star Wars.
Indeed. If you like what you heard today, if you enjoyed listening to this video, go ahead and drop us a like. We would greatly appreciate it. Drop us a subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that as well, because we want to hear from you guys, and we want you guys to join the league. With that being said, we're getting out of the hole of spoilers. We will see you guys on the next one. We're going to go watch some Star Wars, man.
Peace.